Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to another video where we're talking about another Direct. This time with Nintendo Direct. So yeah, back whenever Summer Game Fest was going on and stuff like that, we had rumors pop up of Nintendo possibly doing a Direct, and that eventually became confirmed. So now we have the Nintendo Direct. And how was it? I think Nintendo had a win. This time. So, okay. Like how I usually do with these things, I don't talk about everything. I talk about the one that has my most interest. But Nintendo Direct definitely had a lot of interesting stuff for me. A lot of stuff that I have possible predictions, especially considering what all we have seen thus far. But we'll get to all that in due time. I do want to talk about each individual thing in order that had my interest. Starting with, surprisingly, the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC. Now, I rarely been talking about Pokemon for the last couple of times, mostly because, I'm slowly kind of getting back into the Pokemon kick of saying and stuff like that. But, if you aren't aware of, this past week, I've started streaming Pokemon Scarlet with NBC Mekachu and crew. And, I'm enjoying my time with Scarlet. I'm not gonna lie, I'm enjoying it. And I've known about the DLC, the Till Mask, and the Indigo Disc. I've known about the DLC since they first revealed it. And now that I got to see the trailer and everything like that, I'm definitely looking forward to it by the time it gets released. And apparently it's getting released later this year, with fall and winter. Definitely surprised to see it coming out so quickly after each other, but it's something to definitely continue adding on to Scarlet and Violet, even after me starting to finally play it. So that's cool to see. I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of Pokemon-related news, we have a new Detective Pikachu that's coming back. Detective Pikachu Returns. So yeah, we're going to have a Detective Pikachu Switch game. Now, technically, if I'm not mistaken, Detective Pikachu, the first one, originally came out for the 3DS. And while I don't have any indicational proof, I would not be surprised if we get an announcement saying that the original Detective Pikachu game will be available for Switch at a later point in time. We might get an announcement for that. I sincerely doubt it. I have no guaranteed proof. But from what we've seen so far in this particular Direct, I would not doubt it if they eventually do announce it. And you'll see what I mean once I get to that point. But let's continue on with the other news that have come up in the fray. The next big news, and this is big news, especially considering the fact that this was like a big rumor for a long while. And, for a long while, you hear for a while and you think to yourself, yeah, it's not going to happen. It finally did happen. The Super Mario RPG remake. It finally happened. I'm just as surprised as you guys to see that, and it's just, oh my gosh. I won't spoil anything major, but this will eventually surface up later on, whenever me and Delmar get around to it. But yeah, it's like, this pops up, and then we're like, oh, we have to now. So, to see this pop up, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to this one especially, because I've been wanting to play the Super Mario RPG game for a long while now, and then this got announced, and it's like, well, we might as well play the remake while we're at it. So this is cool. This is cool to see that. Alongside with this particular news, they also announced a new Peach game. That didn't really have my interest, but Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, that had my interest. Now, they didn't state when, but they said that they were working on it, which means that eventually it will see a release on the Switch. From what they stated, according to what they stated, was that they are working on making an HD remaster for Switch of Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. Which also made me believe that this might also coexist with the ideal of Detective Pikachu also eventually being released for Switch as well. And that would not surprise me, but they didn't say anything about it. But to see that Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon is going to be coming available on the Switch will also indicate that there are other possible 3DS titles that could also see a future release for the Switch as well, which is great because that means the Switch has a longer life expectancy when it comes to future game releases and stuff. And again, just from what we've seen so far on this Direct, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we have not gotten yet, and I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, what about the original Luigi's Mansion? They have not stated anything, but I would not doubt in my mind if we do get an HD re-release of Luigi's Mansion as well, considering the fact of other news that we'll be talking about later on. Now this one surprised me. This one got me really hyped up for this one. This one is Dragon Quest Monsters: The Dark Prince. Now imagine the concept of Dragon Quest, except you're taming the monsters and stuff like that. And there's a little bit to go off of on the preview that we saw of this one, but it looks like you get the ability to fuse the monsters into becoming more powerful monsters. I may be wrong on that one, I don't know. I'm only familiar with like Shin Megami Tensei. I didn't know if there was any other games that did monster fusions, but from what I saw, it looked like you could in fact fuse the Dragon Quest monsters into becoming more powerful monsters. And if that ends up being the case, that's a really cool thing to see right there. So I definitely look forward to this one. It's interesting too. We got 2 future Dragon Quest games, neither one of them being the 12th one record, but we still got a number of Dragon Quest games to look forward to, so that's cool to see there. We also have Pikmin 4. So for those that don't know, Pikmin 4 is going to be releasing literally next month. Literally next month is when we get the release for Pikmin 4, and I'm looking forward to that one. But they've also announced that they're going to be releasing a demo of that later this month. So that's going to be cool to do a first impressions videos on. But they've also announced something even bigger than that. Well, maybe not for some people, but for me, it definitely was bigger. They are releasing digital remaster versions of Pikmin 1 and 2 for Switch. Oh, it's about flipping time! They released Pikmin 1 and 2 for Switch. Record, yes, is only the digital version, but they're there. They are going to be available for the Switch. So that's awesome. That's really cool. I'm looking forward to that one. Anyway, so yeah, to see Pikmin 1 and 2 finally getting a Switch release, that's really cool. I love that. I love to have more reasons to play the Nintendo Switch and to have more games on it. That's something to look forward to. So, yeah. While I'm not the biggest fan of Star Ocean, to see a remake of Star Ocean: The Second Story, that's really cool to see, especially considering that it is in the style of the Octopath Traveler series, you know, where it's like the 3D high-res backgrounds with the 2D sprites of characters and monsters. I love it whenever they do that. I love that art style. I don't know why, but I really love seeing that. And to see that this one is going to be doing that, that's going to be cool to see. I definitely love the combat. Like, the combat, holy crap, the combat was insane. That was an insane combat to see. Now, one final game that I do want to talk about, mostly because while it doesn't have my interest of one to play, this one had the most reactions out of me and Delmar. So, me and Delmar was watching the Nintendo Direct live. We were watching this as soon as they released it and everything like that, and we were watching it together. It had a lot of reactions from us. A lot of reactions. But this one in particularly is the most funniest and the most wackiest thing I have ever seen. The most wackiest. Like, in terms of Mario game fashion, I love the art style. It looks amazing. And the gameplay just looks so freaking wacky. I don't know how to explain it, except that Mario has definitely went into the next level of tripped out reactions. Just like, he takes this mystical item, this flower, whatever it is, and all of a sudden it looks like he just literally took the most poisonous shrooms he can take, and is just in one wacky trip. So, so while it doesn't have my major interest for Delmar, he's decided for it, but it's just the most wackiest thing I've ever seen. I couldn't help but die of laughter because of how freaking insane this game was. Just absolutely crazy. This one's called Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But yeah, in terms of like what had me the most excited for was, I mean, obviously you guys could probably tell right off the back, the Pikmin games, just to see Pikmin 4 fixing to come out next month, and then Pikmin 1 and 2 to get a digital remaster release. That's definitely exciting. I definitely love seeing that. But that also makes me wonder about Nintendo's future, you know? Because, okay, a lot of people keep talking about how Nintendo's going to be releasing a Switch 2, or another Nintendo console. For every year we don't get that news is another year that it will eventually happen. Obviously, we haven't seen it now, but you can't deny the fact that the time is getting close. It is getting close to that time in which where Nintendo will finally announce a new Switch, or a new system, however way they want to call it this time around. For all we know, it may not even be Switch 2, although to be perfectly honest, I do hope it is a Switch 2, because then we could just hear the double snap. I don't know why, I like the little thing that they have at their beginnings and stuff like that. It's like the Nintendo Switch, and it's like, I like it. So hearing a double, that'd be cool to see. But yeah, it's just, while we don't see a new Switch console, or a new Nintendo console, however way, we still have a lot of games that are coming out for the Switch. A lot of games, a lot of updates, a lot of stuff, which prolongs the Nintendo Switch's lifespan. And on the one hand, it's hard to kind of imagine if we will see a milestone happen for the Nintendo Switch. And by milestone, I mean, could it eventually beat the PS2? Like, can it really? This would be a shock if it does, but to me, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. I mean, when you look at the numbers, it's kind of insane to believe that the Nintendo Switch could beat the PS2. Now, obviously, while Nintendo Switch is the #1 Nintendo selling console, in terms of Nintendo devices, that title belongs to the Nintendo DS. And Nintendo DS is like, I think it's like a million closer from beating the PS2, technically. The PS2 had 155 million units sold, while the Nintendo DS only sold 154 million, roughly. Which was a close number. So, if the Switch becomes the #1 Nintendo selling device of all times, that means that it has the opportunity to actually be in the best-selling console in history, which is the highest ranking gross thing that you could see out of the gaming industry. So if the Nintendo Switch continues this for a very long time, it's hard to say how long it could keep it up. Like, obviously, no announcement for a new Nintendo system, so obviously that means that it could be a while before we still get more news. And depending on how long they're willing to keep this up, it could happen. I can totally see this. This is not crazy within the realms of me believing that it could happen. But who's to say? We live in a weird time in which we're getting remakes, we're getting remastered, we're getting games that we didn't think we're going to be seeing, and we're seeing a system that continues longer than expected. You know, this is literally going beyond a normal console 8-year lifespan, you know? Most consoles these days, they last upward to 8 years in terms of, like, constant release schedule, constant support for the system, so on and so forth. So if the Nintendo Switch continues this up, this may very well be the longest running Nintendo system we have seen in a long while, or any video game system for that matter. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Nintendo Direct, give you my personal thoughts and opinions, as well as possibly what we could be potentially seeing in the future. There's no guarantees, but after this Direct, anything can happen now. We live in a weird time in where anything can happen. And given what Nintendo's doing right now, it's doing a good thing. Good job. So, yeah. Toast to you, Nintendo. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.